So we're very pleased to have Matanga Prabhu with us. He is originally from Bulgaria. And as I'm not maybe the most qualified person to introduce him, I'll hand over to Jainitai Prabhu, who will be speaking some introductory words. And then after that, Matanga Prabhu will speak about text 431 of the Bhagavad-gītā As It Is.
Yeah, we are very happy that Matanga Prabhu joined us today, or is actually explaining from the Bhagavad-gītā. He is since a few years practicing Krishna consciousness in a very serious way, living in a brahmachari ashram with Tulsi and Pandava, who are always
they know them.
Us know also, because they also sometimes come here for our lectures. And yeah, usually what they do is they study for half a year in Mayapur, and the other half a year they travel in Europe and in Bulgaria for preaching.
Yeah.
And Matanga Prabhu is, in that sense, yeah, has experienced and is learned. So we are happy to have him here today and looking forward for the lecture. Thank you. And I hand over to Matanga.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll sing a little bhajan because it's the tradition, so we can go into the right mood. And then I'll just read the verse. Is that all right with you? Camera is good? My camera? Okay.
Maybe one experience from the Zoom lectures or with the cartels, it's good not to make it too loud because the sound comes very...
I was presuming that, what if I do like this? Is it okay? I can do with hands also, but you tell me if it's okay. Is it okay?
Yeah, in the beginning was good.
Huh?
Like in the beginning, that's good, like very soft. And then it's good.
Like this. Jaya Radha Madhava Gunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Giri Varadari Madhava Gunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Giri Varadari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Piyavanachari Yamuna Piyavanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Giri Varadari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Giri Varadari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Piya Vanachari Yamuna Piya Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Radha Madhava ki jai. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai. Berlin Yatra ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Okay, let's see the verse. 431. Today we are reading from the Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge. It's a very, very nice chapter. Verse 31. Nāyaṁ loko asti ayajñasya kuto nyaḥ kuru-sattama. Just 2 lines. Synonyms. Na, never. Ayam, this. Lokaḥ, planet. Asti, there is. Ayajñasya, for one who performs no sacrifice. Kutaḥ, where is. Anyaḥ, the other. Kuru-sat-tama, O best among the Kurus. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai. O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? Whatever form of material existence one is invariably ignorant of his real situation. In other words, existence in the material world is due to the multiple reactions to our sinful lives. Ignorance is the cause of sinful life, and sinful life is the cause of one's digging on in material existence. The human form of life is the only loophole by which one may get out of this entanglement. The Vedas, therefore, give us a chance for escape by pointing out the paths of religion, economic comfort, regulated sense gratification, and at last the means to get out of the miserable condition entirely. The path of religion, or the different kinds of sacrifice recommended above, automatically solves our economic problems. By performance of yajña, we can have enough food, enough milk, etc., even if there is a so-called increase of population. When the body is fully supplied, naturally the next stage is to satisfy the senses. The Vedas prescribe, therefore, sacred marriage for regulated sense gratification. Thereby, one is gradually elevated to the platform of release from material bondage, and the highest perfection of liberated life is to associate with the Supreme Lord. Perfection is achieved by performance of yajña, sacrifice, as described above. Now, if a person is not inclined to perform yajña according to the Vedas, how can he expect a happy life even in this body? And what to speak of another body on another planet? There are different grades of material comforts in different heavenly planets, and in all cases there is immense happiness for persons engaged in different kinds of yajña. But the highest kind of happiness that a man can achieve is to be promoted to the spiritual planets by practice of Kṛṣṇa consciousness. A life of Kṛṣṇa consciousness is therefore the solution to all the problems of material existence. The translation again. O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? Forgot to say the prayers before, I'll say them now. Nāyaṁ namaskrityānam chaivanarottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Nasta prayesha bhadreshu vityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine Panchakalpata Rubhyas Chakripa Sindhubhya Evacha Titanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Asadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'm also seeking for the blessings of all the senior devotees who are present. Please bless me so that I can give, so I can say something substantial which can help us to purify ourselves. There was also Tulsi Prabhu entering, and he was so happy for some reason, I don't know. So he also gave blessings, which is very nice. Very, very nice. So we have both the problem, which is our current situation, such a great problematic situation that we're having. And this, ironically, is also the solution of it, because the human body is the only vessel, the only recipient which can stop the repetition of birth and death. Even though, as we may recall from our own experience, that in our present situation we're so full with desires, with material desires, and that actually seems quite challenging, even impossible to practice spiritual life. In Kali Yuga is such a atmosphere, here in the West, so many distractions, so many anarthas we have from our upbringing. Someone joined younger, is luckier maybe, someone joined later in his 20s, in his 30s, 40s. So the later the one joins Krishna consciousness, usually it's a worse situation, because one becomes more and more conditioned. And but nevertheless, this bad bargain that we have created, it can also be used for the ultimate purpose. To come back to our original state of eternal, ever blissful, and full with knowledge human beings. Not human beings, but living beings. Who knows? We may be something different in the spiritual world, and that's perfectly fine, because that will make us both the ultimate object and the process which we have to perform in order to get it together, to follow to make the machine work, which is our body, our yantra, which we are giving, this bad bargain. So this is one big chunk of the Vedic philosophy, to understand that we are not this body, as Prabhupada is constantly, again and again, explaining his lectures. It's ABC of a spiritual life, but we're in such a situation that this is the most important thing, because we are quite engrossed in our materialistic activities here in the West. It's quite a heavy conditioning. That's why Prabhupada, he came, he wanted to give so much more in-depth explanation about the philosophy, about the 10th canto and so forth. But he found himself this type of standard of people, which he said, 5th class. So we have to accept our humble condition. We have to accept our position and be humble. to understand our precarious situation in the West here. You know, we're not like the Indians, which are born in Bharatvarsha. We are quite addicted to the lower modes, to the pleasures which are coming from the lower modes, which are quite sinful and bounding. But nevertheless, the process of bhakti is so sublime, so straightforward and easy that it can destroy everything. There is nothing in nothing can stop the force of the holy names of the Lord. And human form of life, one cannot just go around and try to eat like the pigs, drink alcohol, drink all kind of nasty things which the modern capitalistic system is offering us, have sex here and there like cats and dogs, like Prabhupada says, then receive some kicks, just like the donkey, they're receiving a kick from the female donkey very often, or just sleep whole day, be in tamogun and just be lazy. You know, this is accepted in the modern society as something exalted, you know, quite nice. You're doing nothing whole day, you're not working, you know, enjoyment. But actually it's suffering from the beginning until the end. And defending ourselves, defending what? Of course, our sense gratification, our position in the material world, our family, our congregation, group, nation, skin color, and so forth. All these animalistic propensities, they're present in the animal life. But in the human form of life, we have the special element, which is atato brahma jigyasa, to inquire, who am I? What is my duty? So my duty is to perform yajña in order to get all the facilities, dharma, artha, kama, and then moksha. And then the fifth element, even better than moksha, is anandamaya, spiritual bliss. And paradoxically, yajña is also quite easy to perform nowadays, because as we all know, the Yuga Dharma in Kali, in the dark age of Kali, is to chant the holy names of the Lord. It's something quite easy. You just chant, you just listen, chant, you read the books, which are also written kirtan, like Prabhupada says. You listen to lectures, you listen to so many kirtans of Kṛṣṇa Swami or Sachinandana Swami, all these sweet voices of theirs. And it's quite nice, you know, we have so many facilities in ISKCON. Prabhupada gave us ISKCON. We have our varnas and ashramas, our varnashrama dharma. We can get together and do kirtan at our home. If there is pandemic or lockdown, we can still get together. We can chant with our children, laugh with them, speak about Kṛṣṇa. But on the other hand, we have this background, you know, we have this bag full with so many nasty things which are hovering in our mind. And we're very stubborn to continue grasping all these bubbles which are coming from our subconscious mind. And we're stubborn, we're holding on to them. So they foresaw what will be my situation, your situation, and generations to come, the situation of all the people in the Kali. We are lazy, spiritually lazy, because we are engrossed by the Rajas, Rajaguna, and not Sattva. I wish it would be Rajas and Tamas, which means illicit, sinful life, like the purport was saying. Our only problem is our sinful life. So, what to do? We're trying to do this yajña, we're trying to engage ourselves into chanting and listening. So many activities, preaching, cooking, and so forth. But yet, all these desires, all these mental concoctions, they are still there. And so many times we're just turning away again from the process, and we are looking forward. And sometimes even become really sinful. So our mind is the only obstacle that is keeping us from fully surrendering to the process of yajña. And we have to be aware of this and use all the tools given by the Acharyas, by Srila Prabhupada, by the Goswamis, in the Gita, in the Bhagavatam, in all the books which are left. We are meant to deeply, systematically study them, study the philosophy and imbibe it in our essence, so that we can get the transcendental weapon of knowledge, which will sever this root, this very, very deep root of our false ego, which is bound in this world, is bound to enjoy. Because the material mind, the senses, and the sense objects, they are meant duty, which is to perform sacrifice, because this is our real constitutional position. Just like, you know, if you try to water the tree, you can put the water on the leaves and you'll get no benefit. But if one is putting the water on the root, then that is the proper process. So in the same way, the performance of yajña for the human being, this is the natural, the original position, constitutional position. And our indoctrination, our false conception of the life, the dream world in which we are living, the dream that we're experiencing is so deep that it's actually making us believe that our duty is something else. Aham mameti, that our duty is I and mine. I'm here to enjoy everything which I see, all the people, or all the objects, all the material nature is meant for me, for my pleasure, for me to exploit it as I am, by hook or by crook. And this thing, you know, you may say Matanga, but we already know these things, you know. I already know these things. Prabhupada is constantly speaking about these things. But the point is that we have to continue hearing about these things because we are stubborn, like I said. We are stubborn and our intelligence is quite perverted. Our intelligence is not yet purified. Therefore, we have to hear the same things over and over again every day. And it's not just the same knowledge. It's more than the same knowledge, actually. As it is said, those who listen, they will hear. So we have to be mindful that we have to be hungry and thirsty for spiritual transcendental knowledge, not just for the sake of cultivating knowledge, because knowledge is already there and sooner or later one will learn the philosophy, but to apply his own intelligence while listening and get purified in this way, relish the transcendental knowledge. Just like Guru Maharaj is saying many times, Bhagavatam, 2% for knowledge, 98% for relishing. So by constantly hearing these things, by applying our intelligence, our mind, all these samskaras, which are making us believe that we are something else and our duty is something else, they will gradually be purified, and we will be able to engage ourselves more and more into the Yuga Dharma, into the performance of yajña, of congregation, of chanting, for example, or distributing books, Brihad Mridanga. So the cultivation of knowledge and the gradual giving up of our mental concoctions will guarantee us this smooth ride, because it's like the elevator, you know. We're very fortunate, ironically, paradoxically, in Kali Yuga, because we have given the most easy, the most simple process. Otherwise, it's very difficult. Just like in the other ages, they had this Ashtanga yoga, which is quite complicated and difficult and troublesome, and it takes so much time. They had temple worship. They had so many other things to do in the other ages. But we are so unqualified now that we have received just this chanting of the Maha Mantra. And yeah, otherwise the process becomes really painful and long because of this resistance that we are causing. Yeah, ironically, the path is smooth. We just have to engage and do the things which are prescribed by Prabhupada for our sadhana bhakti, and we will progress. But at the same time, there are so many obstacles which are coming our way, and we're falling down and so forth. And if we just cultivate knowledge and try to become more and more situated in sadhana, then it becomes really easy, you know. It's just like one is tasting in the beginning the devotional service, and it's quite bitter because it's like a medicine. And like the example with the jaundice, you know, you have jaundice, and when you're taking something sweet, you're feeling it's bitter, because this is the nature of this disease. And the only remedy, the only cure for this disease is to take something sweet, because it's somehow cleansing the organ inside the, how do you call this? The liver, yeah, the liver. And the more one is taking the same medicine, slowly he's starting to get little by little the sweet taste, until the point that he's relishing the sweet taste 100%, like before. So in the same way, when we engage in the process of yajña, in the beginning, it's quite bitter. You have to force yourself. You need the structure. You need so many devotees around you. Of course, we in all stages of our life, we need the devotees. We need the association of these kind souls around us, or our spiritual teachers, or shikshas, and engage ourselves into practical menial services in family life, in brahmachari life. All the ashrams are meant for this. And in this way, this taste will increase more and more. The more we apply ourselves to the process, to the practical process, the more we apply our intelligence to the philosophy, to relish with the right mood, listening. Yeah, because our minds are quite obsessed with all these conceptions, or these false conceptions, upadis, sarva upadi vinirmuktam. We have to give up all these designations in our mind, and there are quite few. You know, I've been through it. You've been through it. You know how it is. Some are quite gross, and the gross ones are the first to go. But then the more you go deeper, you know, the more subtle upadis, samskaras there are. All these ideas we have of who am I, what am I supposed to do, what are my likings, my impressions of what is right, what is wrong. All these things we're still holding them even after so many years of practice. You know, this is part of our false conception that I am this body. You know, I am this mind. To realize I'm not this body might be easier, but to realize I'm not this mind, that's quite a challenge. And yeah, all these isms, indoctrinations, which are representing our false identity and dream world in which we are bound to live and suffer in the dream of Mahavishnu. All these you know, isms. Prabhupada is speaking about isms, and I've seen in our society nowadays there are devotees who are quite attached to some political concepts. You know, they're attached to political nonsense, feminism, capitalism, fascism, communism, so many isms. You know, all these things are coming. All these things are temporary. They're all coming from mental concoctions. They're all on the material platform. They are just illusion. They are wet stew, dry stew, all kinds of stew, you know. So we have to abandon all these kind of things. Human rights, human equality, women's rights, men's rights, transsexuals' rights, pedophiles' rights. All these things are how can I say, are resulting, is the result from the disgusting modern civilization, you know, which is becoming more and more perverted. And as we can see what's going on in the world, it's quite scary. It's quite monstrous. And we've been part of this. You know, we have to acknowledge. You know, I myself I've eaten meat for 20 or so years. You know, I've smoked cigarettes and drunk alcohol, and I've been following some ideas which are coming from highly demonic persons, like, you know, like Freud, like Darwin. Sodermayer, he's explaining in one of his lectures how these big demons, you know, they are shaping the reality of the modern world with their philosophies, you know, their demoniac philosophies, which are quite embedded in our minds. So we have to be really aware of what's going on there. We have to be mindful and try to individualize them and eliminate them by giving them up. Just like Prabhupada says in one interview, I don't know if some of you watched it, it's on your YouTube, when he's speaking to some people very sincerely. It's like my favorite interview. They're asking some questions about God, about process, about moral life. And Prabhupada says, you cannot understand, you know, you have to give up in order to understand. You have to give up all these things, you know. And of course, that's the main thing, you know. Giving up something, it's painful. Giving up our egotistical agendas, you know. I want to do the things my own way because I know, because I'm intelligent, because this, because that. I won't follow authority. what does Prabhupada know here? He's right here, but here, what is he saying, you know? This is, how can Varnashrama work in the Kali Yuga, you know? It's nonsense, you know? But no, it's 100% true. And we have to abandon all these things in our mind, all this desire to control. And we have to find our position and perform this yajña, this yoga dharma. We have to find our position in the system of the Varnashrama dharma. We have to follow authority to get purified. Because if we don't do this, all these upadis, they will remain there, you know. So this is very important. Prabhupada said, you know, my mission is incomplete. 50% of it I have to establish Varnashrama dharma, and he has left this for us. It's very important because this is giving us shelter, all these varnas and ashramas. And if we don't get properly situated on them, we leave ourselves into a very unstable position, because Varnashrama dharma is the scientific system of 4 varnas and ashramas, which is meant for purifying the spirit soul, the human beings in every position. You know, everybody can get purified, but first he has to accept the authority of the Vedas. Of course, that is also a problem in the West for us. We don't have faith in scripture, but scripture is 100% true, and whatever Prabhupada said, even his opinions and his mistakes, they're 100% true. And yeah, our position, we have to understand our nature and situate ourselves properly into one of the 4 ashramas and varnas, because one has to surrender to the principle of authority, which is ultimately coming from the supreme authority, which is Kṛṣṇa. If one doesn't, for example, situate himself in this way, he's not actually accepting this higher authority. He's accepting the authority of his mind. He's accepting maybe the authority of some ism, of capitalism, or some favorite philosopher from the West. You know, so many philosophers with so many beautiful ideas. You know, very beautiful word jugglery. So many rascals, like Prabhupada said. Scientists, you know, scientific ideas, you know, nanotechnology, NASA, NASHOs, all these kind of rascals, you know. They could be our authority if we don't surrender to the process. So that's why we have the Brahmachari ashram, in which you have your own authority in the temple, your superiors, your Guru Maharaj, your temple president, senior Vaishnavas, your Shikshas. They're all controlling you, telling you what to do, what not to do, and you're getting angry all the time because you want to do it your way. But no, you see, like Prabhupada said, you have to give up. Have to give up in order to progress, in order to be humble enough to hear the holy name. Or how can we relish the holy name if we are not humble, if we desire to control? And if we are not brahmacharis, we have to be situated into the grihastha ashram. Who is our authority? Our wife, or our husband, or our children? They are also saying, have to bring some food for me, some money, have to work for me, not work for for my own sense gratification, living somewhere like a bachelor, you know, and just following whatever my mind is saying, you know, just do this, buy that, you know, the whole apartment is a mess, the whole house is a mess, you know, you typical, you know, bachelor environment. No, you have to surrender to the wife, you have to make children and work for them. You have to do samskar, garbhadana samskar. And in this way, one will get purified from these selfish upadhis in the mind. And ultimately, one has to give up even the propensity to enjoy the opposite sex, the extended self-gratification which we are getting from our children, from our disciples, maybe in some cases. Yeah. And then progress into vanaprastha, sannyas. We have to cultivate this sattva gun, which is regulating our life. We can find in the Bhagavad-gītā all the principles, all the elements of knowledge: non-violence, simplicity, tolerance. We have the sadhana bhakti, which is given by Srila Prabhupada. All these small things, all these small elements, these are part of the whole puzzle, you know, which will ultimately allow us to get purified and to perform yajña in the perfect sense, you know, because now sometimes we're performing, sometimes we are not. We're struggling with the mind, so we have to cultivate sattva gun. We have to be properly situated, regulated. Just like all these things Prabhupada said, you know, raise up early, take shower, sit properly. These are such a powerful elements, which are, one can say they are secondary, because most important is chanting. Just chant and be happy, Prabhuji. And Prabhupada said, you know, they were saying, oh, but you're just going around and chanting. But Prabhupada said, no, we are not just chanting, we're also doing things, you know, we're doing practical stuff. Prabhupada, in 10 years, he opened centers all around the world. He wrote 80 books. We are also doing things, you know, we are raising up early, we are distributing books, we are listening to the lectures, we are working, we are engaging 50% of our income, why not even more? We are helping the other devotees, we are giving them association, taking association, loving exchanges, dadati, pratigrinati, guyamakyati, prachati, revealing our mind in confidence. So many things. Studying the scriptures systematically, very important, like I was saying before. Learning all these elements, you know, have to learn them. Learning all the verses, which will all the time come back in our mind in difficult moments, you know, all these instructions, the direct words from Kṛṣṇa, the words from our spiritual teacher, the relationship with our spiritual teacher, with our friends in bhakti, with our fellow devotees. All these things will save us from going down again into the lower modes. And in this way we can fill up our day with so many activities that will keep our mind busy and away from Maya, from the illusion that we are this body. Because all these other activities, all these upadhis, they keep us in low consciousness and they keep us constantly bewildered. And then we feel weak and helpless. Such is the grip of Maya. She is covering our consciousness and then kicking us down into the depths of darkness, of ignorance. But no, now we have to stand up again. We have to be exposed onto the rays of the transcendental sun, of the Sankirtan movement, and use our own intelligence, our own position. Anyone, doesn't matter, age, class, social position, gender, anyone can get perfection. Anyone can become Krishna conscious. One has everything that he needs. He just has to use his own intelligence and the advice from his spiritual masters, Shiksha Gurus, Diksha Guru, so that to engage his position, his nature in the proper way. In this way, when the mind is engaged throughout the day, when the mind is engaged into preaching, into hearing, into constantly hammering, like with a hammer, in one place, in the same place, in our weak spot. At once, sooner or later, Kṛṣṇa will be satisfied, and he will release the grip of Maya. So let us try to get inspired. We are here in Kali Yuga, but we got Mahaprabhu, the golden avatar, and even better, we got Prabhupada, which is an expansion of the golden avatar. He came to save us. He gave us the instructions, even in the best possible way for us, which are even the most fallen. Of course, we are not the most of anything, like Prabhupada is also saying, but we are pretty fallen. So he gave us all these books with the purports which are designed for us, and so that we can relish the comments and engage in book distribution to spread the mercy, and in this way get the mercy, because it is in giving that we receive. And so many other things can be said, but I think this is enough. So if there are some comments, some questions.
There is a question. It has been posted in the chat box. Could you enliven us with some personal realizations or stories from your book distribution and preaching?
Let me think. Well, yeah, one thing that I can say is that, like Kṛṣṇa says in the Bhagavad-gītā, I don't remember the verse, the one who spreads my glories, he's my most intimate, he's most satisfied with those who are spreading the names of God, spreading the mission. And I can actually say something about this. One can perform so many types of devotional service, and devotional service is absolute. One is getting purified. Nevertheless, if one is a pujari, if one is a father working and sacrificing his income for the temple, for his family, if one is cooking for the deities, they are all very nice works and devotional activities. But preaching is, I don't know, at least in my humble experience, also the devotees with which I'm associating, Janita, I can say also this, that when we are preaching, when we are giving this transcendental knowledge to others, this is the most sublime. You can feel that Kṛṣṇa is satisfied, and at the same time you also get satisfied, because when one is watering the root, then it goes to all the parts of the tree. So when one is distributing the books, like Prabhupada said, this is the activity which is satisfying me the most. When one is speaking about Kṛṣṇa, if one cannot distribute books, one can speak about Kṛṣṇa, one can make Harinam. Just being compassionate, the quality of being non-violent. Non-violence means to preach, because when we are not preaching, we are actually being violent. So when we are preaching, we are actually living on the edge, and we are getting so much transcendental nectar. And yeah, so many times, like for example, with Jannitai Prabhu in Germany, I've been in Switzerland, long days outside distributing books, doing programs, being on Ratha Yatras, and you're so much immersed in this transcendental nectar that you forget, your consciousness is just on another level, just you forget all these small petty things of the world, my bodily needs, my desires, me, this, that, why did he do this? Why did he treated me this way? He didn't say Haribol, why is this prasadam so salty? Why is this prasadam not so salty? All these kind of things which are coming when we are not satisfied. So this is my realization that when we are engaged in the frontal position of the troops, of the soldiers of Mahaprabhu or Srila Prabhupada, then life is living on the edge. And I'm quite sure that everyone is desiring to live on the edge, because you're getting quite a nice feeling. So this is my realization, putting yourself to the limit, going out, distributing books, using new techniques, going places which you never thought you would go, stretching yourself from your comfort zone, giving lectures, sometimes it's quite challenging. All these things are quite relishable. And when we relish this transcendental taste, this is actually what will keep us away from Maya. So this is the most important thing, to develop the higher taste. Because if we don't have the higher taste, we will have the lower taste. And then again, Maya will cover us and kick us around. Like this. Is it satisfying enough, Mataji?
Thank you.
Haribo.
I was waiting for more personal stories.
More personal.
You have so many.
Let me think about. Yeah, I thought about some personal stories, but let's see. I don't have it now. I don't know. Somehow it doesn't come to my mind. Sorry. It has to be connected to something else. There is another question?
Yeah, there is another question by Vinuya. She says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Could you please explain the word samskara for a neophyte? How can we learn to give up control and have more faith in Krishna? Thank you for your very good lecture.
Could you explain the word samskara for a neophyte? How can we learn to give up control and have more faith in Krishna? Samskara, as far as my also neophyte realization is allowing me, it means impression. Just in a practical sense, an impression is something that which we kind of record in our mind when we're doing something in our daily life, in our past days, when we were little, all these strong sensual pleasures that we had, sensual, emotional times, all these things, they create impressions in our mind, in our subtle body, in the mind, in the intelligence, in the false ego. I don't know exactly how is the mechanism, but they create impressions in our mind which remain there, and they are like memories which we remember. And then when this happens, it's like the mind is preaching, to you. Oh, do you remember when you were little? Oh, it was such a nice, such a nice times. You were going out and running around, careless. So many people are saying, oh, I didn't want to grow up. I wanted to be a kid whole life because it's nice, you know, you have so many beautiful samskaras. You're a cute little baby and everybody's giving you chocolate and candies and so forth. And we all have these samskaras. And we have also other type of samskaras, more nasty ones with the opposite gender when we make sex. These are quite difficult samskaras, you know, quite challenging when you remember the taste, the lower taste, when you remember when you got promoted on work, when you won from the lottery, all these things, you know. These are all samskaras, impressions. And in our process, we're trying to substitute these samskaras to overmatch them with spiritual samskaras. That's why we have big festivals. We go out on marathon distribution, book distribution. We do kirtan, we listen, we do japa, we associate with devotees, because all these samskaras, the taste that will come from them, the beautiful experiences, they will overmatch, they will purify the lower taste. And how can you learn to give up control and have more faith in Krishna? Yeah, one thing is that I can say, we can learn from those who have already learned it. This is actually our process. By association, we're getting everything by association. We got bhakti from someone else who already had it, because we don't have anything, we're not even qualified. So we can get the qualities of others, which are more humble and more advanced, more merciful, more compassionate, just by associating with them. And associating with them means not just speaking, but also serving. We have to be a humble servant. Tad vidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya padikshanti te jnaninas tatvadarshinaha. Just try to approach a sage, a tattvadarshi who has realized the truth, and inquire from him submissively and render service. When we are inquiring submissively, rendering service, all these upadis, samskaras, designations, they are getting purified. And the more and more we are losing this sense to control, this propensity to lord it over material nature, to lord it over our own body, over the bodies of other human beings, of other living entities, and so forth. And so many other things could be said, but this is, I think, it's quite a solid point. Is it good enough?
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you very much. All the best for you.
Thank you for listening. Something else?
So if there's other questions. Yeah, there's just one comment in the chat box. Thank you for your very good lecture. So if any one of you has a question, I can see some of you are sitting in front of the cameras. Maybe you also want to switch on your microphone and say something, give a comment, or yeah, not just sit, but also engage with us in an interactive way. Maybe ask a question, say something. So I saw that at least one of you was taking notes during the lecture, so maybe you want to share with us what you wrote down or what you found interesting.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Both.
Please accept my humble obeisances.
No.
So the thing is, first of all, I want to confess that as I was born also in Bharatvarsha, but as you have already said about the association, I know, or I learned about Athatha Brahma Jigyasha with associating with the devotees of ISKCON Berlin.
No other way.
Yeah, like Janita Prabhu, Lekha Shamanti Mataji, and Ramashakti Prabhuji. I'm blessed to have their association. So, Prabhuji, my question is like during Guru Puja, we sing like শ্রী গুরু চরণে রতি এই সেই উত্তম গতি যে প্রসাদে পুরে সর্ব আশা. So that means we should not desire anything, or at least nothing, like not happiness or something like that. But here in this verse, we can see that Lord has talked about happiness. So why is it like that? And another thing is like, I have read from other religious books, not only from our Vedic literature, that it's like a common pattern in other religions also, that they say like we should sacrifice in our this life so that we can enjoy or have some fruitful or something beneficial in our. Prabhu, can you hear me?
Yeah, say again the last thing.
So in different religions and different holy books, there are like something common that if we sacrifice in our this current life, so that we can current life in our this lifetime, yeah. So then we can achieve something, some benedictions or some kind of happiness in our next life. So why there is something like that, that we should sacrifice in our this life to get happiness in the next life? Why? Yeah, okay. That's to my question.
The first question: how can one desire happiness, which is written in the verse? Where did you find it?
No, Prabhu. My thing is like, we say that we don't in Guru Puja also we say like we don't want happiness, right?
Yes.
But in this verse today we have when here it is written like, without sacrifice one can never live happily. So why there is something like we have to live happily? Why Lord is talking about this happiness in life?
There are different grades.
I think Karuna Shakti Prabhu, you have got my question, right?
So why do we desire happiness? Basically, is it okay to desire happiness?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Well, in a sense, happiness is our original state. We are Satchitananda, and in a sense, there is nothing wrong in desiring happiness, because we are looking to return to our original constitutional position, and happiness means devotional service. So if we are engaging ourselves properly, if we are serving the Lord, the devotees, then we are automatically getting happiness. So if our happiness is connected in this way with the happiness of the Lord and the devotees, then there is nothing wrong to desire this. But if we are desiring happiness which is separated from the happiness of the Lord, then that is not good. That is selfish. That is material happiness. This is my understanding. I don't know if I'm properly explaining.
Thank you, Prabhu. And
yes.
Other question was like, why should we always like?
I heard it. I understood. Yeah. Yes. Just like in the Vedas, all the other books, they are basically whatever bona fide injunction you can find there. These are all Vedic principles. These are all these Shakti Vaishnavataras, sages, just like Jesus and so forth, which came to propagate different religions for different types of people. They all propagated Dharma in a different way, you know. So they are all kind of, you can say, watered down religion. There are some Vedic principles which are watered down. There many times are not quite clear. They can be interpreted and so forth. And so we can find the same principles They are just like in this case, if one is sacrificing his life, then in the next life he will have better facilities. He will live in heaven. He will have 17 virgin girls or whatever. The Vikings, they were fighting, and they were believing that by dying in the battlefield, one will go to Valhalla and enjoy life in the heaven, drink every day and have virgins and so forth. So this is nothing new. It's already always being there, because it's coming. The principle is coming from the original Vedas, and the principle is again sacrifice, yajña. We are always actually engaging in sacrifice, because if we want to achieve something even in material sense, one has to all the time in every situation, one has to sacrifice his time, his energy, his resources in order to achieve something better. Just like one what was I about? Yeah, one wants to get rich, for example, materially prosperous. One has to work for it. One has to give up. One has to engage in troublesome activities. Have to rise up early. Have to think about how to do the things, how to sell, how to buy, and all these things. This is a sacrifice in order to get a higher benefit. If one wants to become an Olympic champion, one has to sacrifice his time in training, and in every aspect of our life we're sacrificing. But the best sacrifice is to work for the Supreme. Just chant Hare Krishna and be happy. And so this is the principle it's existing in every life, form of life. And those who are not following, those who are not directly engaged into the process of bhakti, you have the Vedic process, which are gradually purifying one. So one is situated in sattva guna, and when he's performing his activities properly, then he will go to the heavenly planets. He will enjoy there. He will go back down. And it's always like this. When one is committing good activities, when one is following dharma, artha, kama, moksha, one is sacrificing, and then in the next life he's getting the benefit. And the highest benefit is all these things, they are superseded by bhakti, because we are putting our money in the treasury, and all the money is being distributed to everyone properly. And when we're practicing bhakti, then in the next life we will get the highest benefit, even better than heavenly facilities, which from the perspective of the spiritual world are actually not good. Even material sattva from the spiritual perspective is not good enough, because it's temporary, it's illusory. Only Vishuddha sattva. So in this way we're trying to work for the ultimate benefit, to get on the Vasudeva platform, on the Vishuddha sattva. This is our sacrifice. I don't know if I'm touching the point which you want.
Wow, Prabhu. Nice elaborated answer. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Very.
And now maybe to conclude the question section, question by Martina: is there a direct connection from Krishna's happiness to ours? When Krishna is happy about my service, will this bring happiness to me?
Of course. That's the main point, actually. If we understand this, our life is successful. If we learn how to please Krishna, we will actually please ourselves. It's it's quite a far out thing, you know, quite a far out concept process. We are serving Kṛṣṇa, but Kṛṣṇa is also serving us. He's Bhakta Vatsala. It's quite an interesting thing, you know. Just in Bhakti you can find this principle. We have so many pastimes, you know. When Kṛṣṇa is serving the Pandavas, he's washing the feet of Sudama Brahmana, because he's happy that his devotees is serving him and having a loving exchange. And when Kṛṣṇa is satisfied, the whole universe is satisfied. Just like there is this other pastime where they were in the forest and all the sages came and they were hungry. And Draupadi had this blessing, had this, how do you call this thing? I don't remember. That they could eat unlimitedly, and when they ate, no, how was it? I don't remember. Basically, Kṛṣṇa ate from that, and all these sages which were hungry, they were afraid that they won't be able to feed them because they're brahmanas, they will commit offense. When Kṛṣṇa just ate a little bit, they all got satisfied. So in the same way, when we are engaging ourselves in devotional service, we're trying to satisfy Kṛṣṇa, and we can feel it. When we are satisfying him, we will also be satisfied, we will also be happy. And to satisfy Kṛṣṇa means to satisfy his devotees, because the devotees are the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa. And that's why it's most important to surrender to the devotees, because we are not the direct servants of Kṛṣṇa. Actually, we are the servant of 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 Kṛṣṇa. Just like Mahaprabhu gave the example of the perfect servant. And how to serve properly, it's like we know, it's a personal service. We're not serving how we want to do it. We're serving how the person in front of us wants it. If Kṛṣṇa wants hot milk with sugar, and he likes that, he likes barfi, he likes shak, and all other kinds of preparations, Vedic preparations. So we should make those, you know. Of course, we can also make pizza and bretzel and krauti and offer to Kṛṣṇa. If we make them with love and devotion, that will also be nice. But you know, when you know a person, if you really want to please him, you will make the thing that he likes. So in the same way, in the altar, we are serving Kṛṣṇa in this way, but with the devotees is most important when we know their personal needs, when we know their personal desires. The devotees usually, you know, when they see that we are preaching, that we are distributing the nectar, the books, and they're very pleased because Prabhupada is pleased and because Kṛṣṇa is pleased. And in this way, when we please the devotees, our Guru, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Parampara, and back like this, and it all goes back to Kṛṣṇa, just like an electrical field. In this way, everybody becomes happy. Haribo.
If I could make small point,
Yeah.
Originally Kṛṣṇa in the spiritual world, he's ever satisfied, ever happy,
Yeah.
and he's independent from us, and we are also not experiencing Kṛṣṇa's happiness. But when he comes in the form of deities, in the form of Guru also, in the form of super soul, or when super soul becomes kind of personified Kṛṣṇa, Nityananda Prabhu, Ranga Mahaprabhu, sometimes Nrsingadev. Guru Tattva is very complicated subject. Then we can experience the happiness of these forms of Kṛṣṇa. But original Kṛṣṇa, as you all know, he has his eternal lila, and he is completely far away from us. We are so minute, so insignificant. The only thing which can really attract Kṛṣṇa's attention and really makes him smile, I heard, it's Radharani, it's Hladini Shakti. And there is description in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Brahma Samhita also, where it is stated that when Kṛṣṇa, through Guru, reaches a little bit of this Hladini Shakti to us, Bhakti, then we can attract Kṛṣṇa. That Hladini Shakti will make us happy. Sorry if it's a little bit complicated, sounds complicated.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for your lecture.
Thank you. Haribo.
So with that, I think we conclude this evening. Thank you very much for being here. Thanks to all of you who have joined us. And thank you, Matanga Prabhu, for being with us and for giving us these nice explanations and realizations. We hope to have you again with us sometime soon. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. And yeah, all the best. Keep the good work. And looking forward also to come to Berlin in the future.
Yeah, we will be glad to welcome you here and hear from you personally.
I like Germany.
And maybe until then you will have some more personal realizations that you can share with us. Maybe that will have come to your mind by then. Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.